about this one incident that I feel had a really big bearing on my life. The more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to talk about it. But every time that I went back to think about what I wanted to share, this situation came up. Now, it may not seem like much to a lot of people, but it meant the world to my heart. It really got with me, and it happened about 12 years ago. It's when my grandson was 10 years old. We had gone to the beach, and we had been there all week, and we had talked about before we went, we would go fishing. But we had been there all week, and we hadn't even thought about going fishing. There was too many other things for him to do. So the day before we were to come home, on Saturday, mid-August, it's about 95 degrees, he decides he wants to go fishing. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't have it any other way. So we did. And as we go out on the pier, I noticed that there's no one on the right side of the pier. Everybody else is on the left side of the pier. So we walk down the pier and we take a spot on the right side, but everybody on the left side is catching fish. Now, you wouldn't think that 10, 15 feet difference on the pier would keep you from catching fish, but it did, and we didn't catch anything on the right side. So I told him, I said, well, maybe someone will move. I had no more than said that, and there was two ladies right behind us who left. I told Jonathan, I said, go get their spot. So we did. We move over and noticed that the man and boy beside him, after some conversation, it was the man and his grandson. So we shared the same thing, and we talked and we made small talk about different things, but we mostly talked about family, jobs, things like that. But to come to find out, John lived in Lumberton, North Carolina. He was a Lumbee Indian, and he was a long-distance truck driver. And as we talked, John was kind of apologetic about his roots, about being an Indian. And I know I remember telling him, hey, John, be proud of your heritage. Be proud of who you are. You're one of the oldest living group of Indians in America. And as we talked, a couple of things that never came up was religion and politics. But one thing that really got with me was when John said, after we had talked, he said, you're a Christian, aren't you? And it kind of caught me off guard because I'd never had this happen before. I'm kind of private in my faith. I don't, get out and talk about it probably a lot like I should. But that kind of set home with me, and I told him, I said, yes, I am. And he said, and this really hit me hard. He said, I knew you were. He said, I could tell by the love that you show for your grandson, the way you talk, and the things you do. And I thought, wow, that really, just, it got a hold of me. And John replied, he said, I'm not a Christian, but I'm not a bad person. And I can remember telling him, I said, John, God doesn't love me a bit more than he loves you. I said, but being a Christian just makes the ride that much better. And I noticed as we had been talking, the wind had picked up a little bit, and it had started getting dark out over the ocean. And almost when I got through telling him that God doesn't love me a bit more than he loves you, there was, this really gets to me too, there was a crack of lightning, thunder, and the rains came. And when that happened, everybody takes off. You know, they're going, seeking shelter of the tackle shop or their vehicles. Well, I never got to talk to John anymore after that. And the thing about it that really bothered me was I questioned, had I said enough to John? Had I done enough? Had I witnessed enough to make a change in his life? And I kept dwelling on that. I mean, that really, I needed an answer, but I just didn't know. And I shared, haven't really shared this with anyone in the past. But I did share it with a friend of mine, and I told him of the experience, and I told him that I still had questions about, did I do enough? Did I say enough? And he said, how long did you talk to John? And I said, oh, we were probably there a couple of hours or longer. And he said, what you don't realize, he says, the whole time you were in John's presence, you were a witness to John. He said, he as much told you that in your conversation, that he could see Christ in you. Well, that helped. That helped. That put a little bit of closure to it. And then I kept thinking about the love in your heart. And one thing that I take from that is that if we have God in our lives and love in our hearts, our Christianity is going to show. And I thought about the song that we sing in church on occasion. And that song is, you will know they are Christians by their love. Well, I thought about that, and I thought, there's got to be a verse in the Bible somewhere. And I wanted to read it. So I looked and I found it. And it's when Jesus is talking to his disciples. And he tells them, they will know you are Christians by the love you have for one another. So that's kind of where my life is now. I had never thought about all of that, but we can be a witness to the people we come into contact without really telling them that we are Christians, if we truly have the love of God in our hearts. One other thing I'd like to share before I leave, and this is a book by Mike Huckabee. In case you don't know who Mike Huckabee is, he was the governor of Arkansas, and he ran for president in 2016. But the name of the book is Rare, Medium, and Done Well. At first glance, you would think it's a cookbook, but it's not a cookbook. It's not about politics, but what it is about is life's choices. And Mike says that we have three distinct possibilities for our life. He said everybody wants to have some remembrance of the people remember of their life, but what he says is that the way we live our lives is the best testimony that we can leave behind. But the three distinct possibilities that Mike talked about in the book is a life that is unprepared, rare, one in which we seek fame and fortune, but we don't prepare the life for the next life. That would be a rare life. The other one was a medium life, and it's one of mediocrity, and we try to please everyone and displease no one. He said, but at some point in life, we got to choose between right and wrong, and choose to follow God, and find where that belief will take us. And the third life style that he talked about was one that is done well, fully cooked. He says that life is simply put that we just learn to follow God our entire life and prepare this life for the next life. And he says that's the lifestyle that he wants to live. And he said that when this life is over and he stands before the throne of God, there's 6 words that he wants to hear. Those 6 words: well done, faithful servant. And I find myself going back and reading this book a lot. There's a lot in it, but I tried to sum up the main points in there. But I'll leave you with some food for thought. If you were to evaluate your life right now, would it be rare, medium, or done well? Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Well, you know, just listening to what you had to share with us is exactly why I asked you to speak, because watching you around the church here, you do live it, and you're such a great example. I've noticed a lot of times we have a function, everybody's in a hurry to leave after the event's over, but you're always in there mopping the floor, drying the dishes, putting them up, you and a couple of others that are servants, and you do it. It just seems to come naturally to you. So I appreciated your sharing that testimony about the man you met, because we all have opportunity to witness people every day. And this time, Mary, would you close with a prayer, please, ma'am?